And make sure you follow us on Twitter. Anyway, welcome back. At our table today, Ed Williams. He is the president of the Nevada chapter of the Log Cabin Republicans. The Log Cabin Republicans is the largest Republican organization representing gay and lesbian conservatives and their allies. Welcome again. Good to have you here.
Thank you very much. Ed, we're glad you're here. Why don't we give you a little more than Jeff just gave your organization. Tell us about Log Cabin Republicans, what your mission is.
Well, specifically, we are working to demonstrate to the GOP that we win through inclusion, rather than exclusion. That's really the core of what we're up to. It's about core conservative values of religious freedom, individual liberty. That's what we're working towards.
How are you received in the party generally?
Here in Nevada, amazingly well. At both the Clark County level and the Nevada state level, they've reformed their platform to eliminate traditional marriage.
Nevada was the first and technically the only state at this point, correct?
I don't believe we were the first, nor the only at this point. There are some other states that have done so, and I don't think we were actually the first, but we're certainly early in the game.
Okay,
certainly early in the game. Yeah.
Have you had any flack from the national folks?
Sure, you bet. Yeah, I mean, the GOP is a party of debate and dissension. We have freedom of speech, so that means that we have to listen to other people's speech and deal with it.
There seems to be a trend in your party. Amy mentioned earlier there's a Republican governor. He decided not to oppose or not to defend Nevada's gay marriage ban. A number of United States senators now support gay marriage publicly. I think at least a dozen Republican senators support the ENDA, Employment Non-Discrimination Act. And there's been all these court decisions. Do you think there's a trend within your party to accept the issues that are important to your organization?
Yes, I believe so. I think that it's a growing trend. What it really is getting back to our core conservative values. I mean, I can certainly understand that there are certain subsets of the Republican Party that are very concerned about their religious freedom. It's a very understandable concern given history. Mm-hmm. But by and large, I think that a growing portion of the Republican Party is working towards being inclusive towards everyone and allowing people to have freedom in their churches, in their families, in education, in healthcare. That's what they're after.
I mean, do you think that social issues are becoming less important in the Republican Party?
I'm not sure about that. I do know that non-social issues are becoming more important. We've got serious issues with jobs, economy, education. I don't know that I would be quick to lump certain social issues together into one pile and throw the baby out with the bathwater. Mm-hmm. But I think that there are some real serious issues that we need to take care of, and that social issues are divisive rather than inclusive.
You have a list of Republicans who are, you call them allies in Congress, mm-hmm. and one of them is actually our very own U.S. Senator Dean Heller.
Yes, indeed.
I was curious, because he's the only one from Nevada that's mm-hmm. currently on this list. How do you become a member of this list, and more importantly, how do you not become a member of this list?
Well, yeah, that's probably a better question for national as to what the exact criteria is, but I think in general he's showing good leadership and being supportive of individual freedom and liberty, and has been public about it and supported legislation to that effect. So I would suspect that we would see more legislators on that list as we bring more into the fold and supporting that kind of legislation.
What do you think the GOP candidates for president are going to say next cycle? The early states are very important. They tend to involve very conservative voters, and because of that, from my perspective, your candidates for president last cycle said very extreme things. Some of the things that Senator Rick Santorum said, were offensive to me, and I imagine to a lot of people. Do you expect that the rhetoric will change for those seeking the party's nomination?
Frankly, no. I think one of the great things about being Republican is that we have choice, we have diversity. We will have candidates that represent all the viewpoints on every side of the issue, and we get to choose. Unlike Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, who are basically exactly the same on policy issues for all intents and purposes, in the Republican Party, we get choice. So we get to evaluate what they have to say and pick our candidate.
You and I had a very interesting conversation earlier in regards to how we even got here today with marriage licenses mm-hmm. and having the role of government intervening. If you could give us the history on how this all became, I think this is very enlightening.
Sure. It's actually interesting. Most people don't realize that one of the first marriages to be discriminated against by the federal government were Mormon marriages. It was actually a rather long process. It took about 40 years to play out. It started with, depending on which side you were on, either the Utah expedition or the Mormon rebellion.
But this was dealing with polygamy.
This was dealing with polygamy,
practiced,
yes.
correct.
But I mean, this is when government got into the marriage business. Government felt that it had to infringe on someone's religious rights because they thought something needed to change, and so they started going through that process and passing laws to affect that, which culminated in, I believe it was 1886, with an act that required nationwide marriage licensing or civil licensing for marriages. You know, they were basically disbanding the Mormon Church or threatening to at that point, and it went to the Supreme Court. So they went through a lot of that 100 years ago.
Because I know a lot of Republicans would actually prefer government to not be involved in marriages at all, no matter if they believe it's between a man and a woman or not.
I think people with conservative values in general would prefer to have government out of marriage, out of education, out of our families, out of our churches. Absolutely.
Do you think same-sex marriage, do you think this issue is over with at this point? I mean, do you think that, for example, Scott Walker, when after Monday's U.S. Supreme Court move, which essentially let Wisconsin's ban die, Walker said, look, this fight's over with. It's over with in Wisconsin, period. Is the fight over gay marriage over?
Yeah, this phase of it, yes. In totality, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of issues that we as Americans still need to discuss. You know, when you start seeing the specter of political correctness and things along those lines, religious groups have genuine concerns about their freedoms and what they are or are not able to believe legally. And that's something we still need to address as a nation. I think for many decades going forward, we're going to be having those discussions.
Well, obviously it's been a very interesting week for us watching this here at this table, given Monday and then what happened yesterday and then today. Now it looks like gay marriage is going to go forward again here, at least here in Nevada, so we're going to be watching that. But here's the advantage you have being the guest on our program. You get the last point, which happens after this commercial break. We'll be right back. Great. You know, it's that Reed guy you got to watch for in this program. You know, you just push.
I use the breaks to say that I need to be funny on the show sometime.
We're going to start broadcasting the breaks is what we should really be
Outtakes
doing.
or whatever.
Outtakes,
Right.
whatever it is. Anyway, we're here with Ed Williams from the Log Cabin Republicans. Again, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you.
So, again, interesting week, but you think that social issues still there and still important for a lot of people in your party?
Ongoing discussion, absolutely.
Yeah, and you were talking about how the Republican Party is a party of inclusion. Now, Democrats would push back at you on that, but do you feel included by the whole party?
I do, yes.
You do?
I feel that I actually have choice and the opportunity to express my views and have them heard and have a vigorous, very vigorous sometimes, debate about what those values are and how we can represent them in our society.
If people want to come together with you, if they have your perspective, how do they find your organization? What activities can they participate in?
We have a website, www.lcrnv.org. We're also on Facebook and other forms of social media, but the website's a good place to start. That'll link out to all the goodies that we have.
And you're on Twitter, because I retweeted you this morning.
Yes, and we are also on
Yes.
Twitter. Absolutely. Thank you very much.
And your membership growing, holding steady? Give me a sense about how many people in Log Cabin.
Definitely growing, more so in northern Nevada than southern Nevada. I think just because there's been a bigger organization in southern Nevada.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of members that we have registered with the National, about 100 in southern Nevada and about 40 in northern Nevada.
Okay, well, again, very interesting, and thanks again for coming on our program.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure, and always a pleasure having you here. We will be back here tomorrow. Jeff, Amy, Rory, Ed, this is What's Your Point? See you tomorrow. Take care.